Greetings, guys and gals, and my fellow VEDS-ies. Welcome to day 12 of VEDS 2017. Now, back around 5 days ago, Jesse from CodedLockFilms, a fellow VEDS-ie, made a video in which he issued various to each of his fellow VEDS-ies, myself included. And his to yours truly was to pick a Disney animated movie that, while I didn't think was objectively the worst, was the one that I hated the most. And rather than make a review or do something where I talk about why I hate the movie so much, instead talk about reasons why people would actually like the movie that I'm talking about. And I actually have to admit, when I first heard this, the movie that instantly popped into my head is a movie that came out in April of 2004, stars Roseanne Barr as a cow. Yes, I am talking about Home on the Range. And when I realized that this was probably going to be the movie that I was going to talk about, it then popped into my head that I actually hadn't seen Home on the Range. I kind of have avoided it like the plague. But again, I don't want to focus on the negatives, but I do want to quickly go into why I hate this movie the most, just so that you know where I stand on it. And perhaps the biggest reason is the fact that this movie essentially killed classic 2D animated movies released by Disney. Now, you could say that about a few periods in Disney's lifespan, whether it be The Black Cauldron, when that was released, and that almost killed it. But this is the movie that actually takes the cake for actually killing it. After this movie, you had things like Chicken Little, which was not 2D animated, it was CGI. You have things like, even though I like this one, Meet the Robinsons, which was also CGI. It wasn't 2D animated. It wasn't until 2009 with the release of Princess and the Frog, and subsequently after that, Winnie the Pooh, they started to do a little bit more 2D work again. And granted, 2D work is still around, most recently in Moana with Maui's tattoos, but we have not had a 2D hand-drawn animated movie since Winnie the Pooh. So it was, for that reason, more so than anything else, that I just absolutely loathed and despised Home on the Range, despite the fact that up until a few days ago, I actually hadn't seen it. Again, as I alluded to before, I avoided it. But when Jesse issued me this, I thought, well, this is the time now where I can actually sit down and try to find the good in it. And so, in correlation with Jesse's, I am now going to talk about 5 good things. 5 things that people might actually like about Home on the Range. Reason number 1 is just the visual look of this movie in general. The colors just pop, whether it be like the gorgeous sunsets, or the bright green of the grass and on the trees, and the bright reds of the apples. It is a gorgeous looking movie. It is a very colorful movie. The pastel look that they give everything, it works to the film's advantage and makes it look nice. Along with that, this is still Disney animation. It is still top grade stuff, and some of the character designs are very well handled as well. There's a character in the movie called he's like a jackrabbit, and he has like a peg leg. Or a character like Buck, who is kind of this selfish, wants the fame kind of character, and they sort of treat him like a wacky cartoon character. Like there's one point in the movie where Rico, a famous bounty hunter, is looking for a horse. He's talking to the sheriff, and he's mentioning all those things. Well, the horse has to be fast, and Rico's hearing this, so he zips across the screen like 3 or 4 times. It is very energetic animation. This is not phoning it in by any stretch of the imagination. Reason number 2, the music and the songs. I actually was genuinely surprised. Now, not all of them are absolute gems, but there are some that I actually kind of like, two in particular. One, which I'll get to in my third reason, but the first one is kind of the main song of the piece, which is Little Patch of Heaven. That song is insanely catchy, and it's so beautiful to listen to. And I mean, granted, it's an Alan Menken song, so anything he writes is essentially gold. Even the opening song, where I think it's just called like Home on the Range, at least they say that line like 3 or 4 times in it, it has that very sort of classic Western feel. It's a similar feel that you get when you watch the opening to something like Blazing Saddles. Like, it feels like both of those opening credit like songs were coming from the same place of trying to capture that feel of the Old West. Reason number 3, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the whole yodel, addle, edel, idle, o scene, basically the villain song, which I have not seen this level of surrealist animation in a Disney movie probably since Dumbo with the pink elephants scene. For those of you who haven't seen it, essentially the 3 cows come across the outlaw, and he is trying to seduce these cows. I don't really know how else to put it. He's trying to seduce the cows to being wrangled into this train, and he does this by singing and yodeling. His outfit completely changes into something like, it's like orange and yellow with a lot of like sparkles on it, and he's just, all he's doing is yodeling. But the eyes on the cows as they're being hypnotized is something out of Jungle Book with Kaa, and like all of the colors of the cows go different. Even when one of the cows tries to pull them out of it, and she, like, I think bites the tail and picks off the hairs of the tail, even those are still colored at like they're still in a trance. It is just it's so surreal, and kind of like Dumbo, where it's drawing to a head. You have the bounty hunter Rico going after him. You have 3 other cowboys trying to chase after him. He drops this boulder in the middle of, like, I guess a crevice in between 2 to sort of create like a wall, and the song just stops and all the colors go back. It is very similar to Pink Elephants on Parade, where it just ends, and you're just sort of just left wondering what the heck just happened. And again, I could totally see somebody liking this movie for that scene alone, because it is such a mind trip. Reason number 4, the sincere moments and the twist, which I'll get into in a minute, and I'll be sure to give a spoiler alert before I talk about it. The sincere moments in this movie are honestly handled very well, which I'm not entirely surprised. You know, it is Disney. This is the company that killed off Bambi's mother, that killed Mufasa, that killed basically every parent. You know, they know how to handle this kind of stuff. When the old lady who runs Little Patch of Heaven is sort of reminiscing, or when the cows are trying to help her get back up after being told that she's going to get essentially evicted by the bank, you know, you feel genuinely sorry for what's going on, and you buy it. This doesn't feel like the movie is trying to make you feel sad. You feel for this woman. Anybody who's been in a similar situation to what this farm owner is going through, where something's happening in your life and there's nothing that you can do to stop it in time, you kind of buy it. And then, honestly, the twist. So, spoiler alert, skip down to here if you don't want to hear it. Now, the movie sets up the character of Rico. He's a famous bounty hunter. Basically, anybody who the sheriff sends him after, he usually comes back with, and he collects the money. Now, the movie, in the last act, you've come to find out that Rico was actually working for the bad guy the whole time. And I think that the outlaw essentially says something to the effect of, he did the bounty work for a while, but I guess got seduced, and that's not even really the right word to put it, into joining what they call the dark side of the law. And actually, I have to admit, the movie did set this up in an earlier scene, because there's a scene where the cows and Buck are at a standstill, and Buck's trying to show off and tell off the reasons why he and Rico, that they're like best buds, man. They're inseparable. And then as Rico's talking to these three guys about the outlaw, and he tells them, are you heading back into town? Yeah. Send the horse back with you. He's skittish around cows, which, as we've already seen, is the bad guy's MO. He's collecting cows. So they do kind of sow that little seed into letting you know that there's something maybe happening between Rico and this outlaw, especially on, I could see somebody seeing that on like a second viewing. Oh, they did set that up. And quite honestly, to be kind of surprised in a plot twist by Home on the Frickin' Range, I gotta give the movie credit for that. And I could see somebody genuinely liking that twist because they wouldn't see it coming. And finally, reason number 5 is the movie does have some funny moments in it. When you're getting past things like in the first 30 seconds, the Roseanne cow saying about her, the udders, yeah, they're real. You get jokes like when they're walking through town and one of the cows is asking, will we be safe? Is it safe to walk through here? And Roseanne's like, oh yeah, we'll be perfectly fine. While in the background, as they're walking, you see 2 kids with a stick of dynamite, and they're just lighting it and letting it go off. That kind of stuff works because if you see it in the background, then it's hilarious. And then you'll have other jokes like in the same scene after, and I don't even know how I'm going to describe this. The cows think they're going into the sheriff's office, but it ends up being a saloon where they're holding showgirl auditions, and all this chaos is happening, and they finally shoo the cows out of there, and basically Old Man McGucket from Gravity Falls, because that is essentially what he looks like, says, oh, come back, this is the best show we've had in years. And there's also, as I have alluded to earlier, very well-handled slapstick. And the movie does kind of remind me a little bit, especially in the animation department, of how The Emperor's New Groove was handled, where it's like if Disney did a Warner Brothers cartoon. So yeah, those are 5 good things that I can genuinely say about Home on the Range. And while I personally might not like it, and I may think it killed off Disney 2D animation, I do at least understand that there are reasons why people might actually like it. So yeah, thanks Jesse for the link to Jesse's channel will be in the description. And until tomorrow, guys, gals, and my fellow VEDS-ies, where I will be issuing my own sets of... I will see you tomorrow.